introduce us without mentioning anything related to your work. Like basically all the information that you can find on LinkedIn, you don't have to tell that. So
Yeah.
what's beyond your LinkedIn? How will you introduce yourself?
What's beyond my LinkedIn? I mean, I don't know. I grew up from a humble background
Hmm.
in the southwest of Germany,
Yeah.
and in a not wealthy family, but
Hmm.
a family with, I have three older siblings. So I was the surprise baby, which
Yeah.
came at one point. And I was lucky that I grew up in a very really friendly, nice, warm family, So
Yeah.
my parents, what they didn't have in money, they had in affection and sympathy and empathy for their children. So that was something I was really lucky, and I was a bit of the odd one because I was the one in the family who was reading books and started early to interest myself in all things culture. Like the
Mm.
first record I bought
Yeah.
as a child was a Beethoven symphony. I used
Wow.
to drive my parents mad by playing,
Yeah.
you know, and yeah, so I was a bit of bit like the odd one,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
continued and then did my school and all that kind of stuff, and then I moved out and started my real life in Cologne, and still continue to be interested in all things cultural.
Yeah.
Plus, the other big love in my life is food and wine, and everything which has to do with um, you know taste. So and also I love hosting.
Yeah.
Having people around, hosting, cooking for them. So that's something, which, makes me happy. That's a bit the Marcus beyond
LinkedIn.
the link.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I have always been very amazed by the fact of how many friends do you have. And that's something which I really want to touch on in one of our one-on-ones because I think I have friends, but I don't tend to have a lot of friends. And sometimes you need that variety, right? Because you can't always just be dependent on those small group. And you sometimes you just want to be with like a cunty friend, and sometimes you want to be with like someone you can have deeper conversations with.
Mhm.
So I mean, I just like on top of your head, how many friends do you have like in general?
That, I haven't counted them. And, I mean, I was, I was lucky because, I mean, when I went to school, I made a lot of friends who are still
Mm,
my friends.
mm,
I'm over 50 now, and,
yeah.
I left school more than 30 years ago. There is still a group of people who are very close and,
Hmm.
who are now doing all different kind of stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
some of my friends are in artist management, so they
Wow.
manage some of the famous German comedians.
Mm,
And of my school friend is now writing books and novels, and
wow.
has become a really excellent journalist. And we meet each other, once a year. So we
Okay.
get together in the place where we were born. So it's like six of us.
Hmm.
And but there are, more friends are, the friends I made at university while I was studying in Cologne, the friends I made while I was studying in Cambridge in the mid-90s. So it's yeah,
Wow.
it's a quite a diverse set of people.
Yeah.
And I mean, having or I mean, you can't have friends without investing time and
Time.
energy and, just being there for them. So
Mm,
it's something, I don't know, something I like. And,
yeah.
and it's always a bit like, the friends you have. I mean, that's building your own family.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you can be very considerate. You can be
Mm,
very picky.
yeah.
And also, it's a two-way street. So
Mm,
also about what the others think, and you lose sometimes friends.
yeah.
That happens too. No, I mean it's really really lucky, but the flip side of it is having many friends is, still finding time for yourself,
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
more tending to be an introvert.
Yeah.
So I really, if I do, and this is something, I noticed when I was at university when I was younger, that I had, like, every single night I was meeting friends, and then
Okay.
I exhausted. I mean, I enjoyed it being with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I thought, okay, why I'm so exhausted, and then I thought, well, what is lacking is the time you can spend with yourself,
Mm.
and then it's when, and then I started doing one thing when a friend asked, "Oh, what are you doing Tuesday night? Should we go to the cinema?" And I said, "No, I have an appointment already. I have a date already."
Yeah.
And the date was with myself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that me not feeling guilty or having a bad conscience and saying no to a friend,
Mm.
but
Mm.
making it a kind of a routine to just, meet myself and just go
Wow.
there and not doing anything. I mean, but not interacting with people, I love
Yeah.
people, but sometimes I really need to recharge my batteries. And that's something I do while being on my own, meeting people. So, yeah.
So I want to, understand that you've been working as someone in corporate design for a good time now. What's one everyday object that you think is brilliantly designed, but most people usually take them for granted?
But that's a tough question. I mean, I have to confess. I mean, that's a bit of a lame answer. But, I still in awe with, Apple products,
Mm.
to be honest. So it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the intuitive way you can use them,
Mm.
and also, in terms of, really design, in terms of looks. I mean, I still think, that's unmatched, in the
Yeah.
industry. And it will be, and it's also amazing, for how long they have been able to, lead the pack in this regard. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, I mean, that from a technical perspective, I mean, if you speak to IT guys, they say, well, that's, they're not innovative, there are better, technical setups available. But
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm still enjoying, I mean, it's a question of, if you use something and whenever you use it, you are happy,
Mm.
like it. I mean, that's a quality in itself,
Mm.
And I mean, to give you another example, I mean, when I was a student, I mean, I didn't have that much money, so my toaster broke, so I had to buy a new
Okay.
toaster. There was a really nice one from Brown, really,
Mm-hmm.
like Dieter Rams design,
Mm-hmm.
which was like, 50 euros. And
Yeah.
there was one by Philips, which was, blue and a bit, playful, and it was
Yeah.
30 euros. So I
Yeah.
bought one from Philips.
Yeah.
And whenever I used this toaster, I I was grumpy because I thought, this is not nice, I mean,
Uh,
you could have bought the other one,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
I tortured myself for 2 years, whenever
Mm.
I had a toast, and then I decided to make the investment and get a better product, because
Mm.
sometimes it's a bit more expensive, but then
Yeah.
you really enjoy the experience using
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
that gives you a lot of joy in your life.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that's something you learn to appreciate when you get
Mm.
older, that, the
Yeah.
little things in life which can make you happy.
I think good design is usually not very obvious, and bad design tends to stand out a lot. Like, as you
Mm.
mentioned, that whenever you were using the Philips toaster, it was frustrating. So,
No,
I
it
think
really,
bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was really loud. It really grabbed
Yeah.
my attention, and it's while I was looking for, I was looking for, functionality, of course. I mean, functionality wise, I mean, it worked perfectly well. I mean, it
Mm.
was a perfect toast. But then it just put something on top of it, which was
Mm.
unnecessary.
Nah.
Round one was really like, it's just like in the background, and it's just, the focus was really on the functionality, and, and not being, yeah, I mean, being loud or obtrusive, or, I don't know a better word for it. So, and
Mm.
this is where I really think, like, yeah, I mean, as you said it, I mean, bad design really, yells at you. So
I want to shift gears and, you know, uh, tell the people probably that I think I've been in the company for about 3 years. And how, I never got to know, and I think it'll be fun to know with everyone. When did you knew about, someone from the community, from the queer community joining your team? And how was your first reaction like?
yeah, let me think about it. I mean, I joined the company in 2003, quite a long time ago, and it was interesting that at one point, and it was a different time back then because everything was really conservative. And
Yeah.
but then I heard about one colleague who was in a leadership position in the US, and it was more like my former boss. She really mentioned, yeah, he's living with his husband in
Yeah.
Long Island or something.
Yeah.
Making this up, but it
Yeah.
was really casual remark, and I thought,
Mm.
okay, that's cool. I mean, it's
Yeah.
there are gay people in the company,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they even are in leadership positions. So that
Mm.
gave me a good, a sign of, okay, I mean, maybe that environment is quite open and not as conservative as I thought, and
Mm.
then it it changed a lot. But in my team directly, I'm just thinking, I mean, that there wasn't one until you joined,
Mm.
and then but in the meantime, I mean, there's another colleague
Yeah.
from the community who joined, and it feels like it's getting normalized, and
Mm.
it's nothing, it's no big deal, I mean,
Yeah.
even in our team, I mean, nobody is really like, who he's gay. So
Yeah.
it's become a like, yeah, he's gay, yes,
Mm.
but it's just, and that's the way it should be,
Yeah.
let's say.
Mm. I remember the first time I approached you, as, for mentorship in general. Before that, I think we did develop a sense of warmth that, I could finally approach you to do that. What was your initial reaction? Because I think you mentioned in one of our conversations that this is the first time and you will probably be learning how to mentor on the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, my first reaction was really like, thought, okay, wow, that's cool. And I
Yeah.
felt really honored, because I mean, if you approach someone to become your mentor, I mean, it's a sign of trust,
Mm.
so it's really, thought like, okay, wow, that's really cool.
Mm.
And I didn't have a second of doubt whether to say yes or no. I mean, that was absolutely clear. But then
Yeah.
came the other thing. I mean, as you mentioned, I mean, I was never in a serving as a mentor
Yeah.
formally. I mean,
Yeah.
I've done it, without
Yeah.
being outspoken.
Yeah.
So then it was really like, okay, I mean, then I need to try to find out, what it means, and and
Mm.
just, you
Yeah.
know, doing the right stuff, in that.
Mm.
Yeah, that was my reaction, and for me, and that's really selfish of me. I was like, okay, cool, but because I mean, being a mentor is also, what can I get out of it, and I
Yeah.
think there's also this concept of reverse mentoring.
Yeah.
This is something where I thought, okay, Adi, they are in India, different age, different, upbringing,
Geography. Yeah.
all of that, and I thought that's brilliant opportunity. I mean, to just,
Mm.
learn myself, because you can only learn for the things you don't know. So yeah, so I was really super happy about it.
I want to kind of think at a slightly more deeper level. Why do you think queer community and especially the mentorship within that feels different? Have you felt there is a difference? And sometimes even being a little bit more sacred, if that makes sense. Do you feel that sense of responsibility or sometimes even uh a sense of intimacy or trust in general when we are talking? Or do you think it's pretty similar compared to a traditional mentor-mentee dynamics?
Think it, yeah. I think there is an aspect to it which makes it a bit more, even more personal, and even a bit, because I mean, we are both, in a position where we are not, the mainstream. If I think of, work relationships where I serve as a kind of as a mentor, which is, with people who are not in the community,
Yeah.
a bit more, even more work related, or
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even if of course, you touch on personal aspects.
Yeah.
I think the unique experiences we are making help us opening up a lot more.
Mm.
And you feel a bit more comfortable sharing
Mm.
things where you would be more restricted
Yeah.
um, towards others who come from a really different background, or don't share, the fundamental experience of being not part of the majority, but rather
Mm.
a place where you are,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, marginalized.
Mm.
And I say that, even, in with a sense of caution, even, I can speak from a, even, I mean, saying marginalized means that, of course, I am in a way, but in
Yeah.
many other respects, I speak from a position of privilege.
Yeah. Yeah.
The privilege of, in Germany, with a university degree, et cetera, et cetera. So that's
Yeah.
something I am aware of, and saying, well, I'm not really, facing so many hardships,
Mm.
and this is why I,
Yeah.
try not to over exaggerate,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
mean, I don't feel that way, that often.
Yeah. Yeah. Is is that feeling something which has always been with you of not feeling marginalized, even say 20-25 years back, considering the time was different?
I mean, there is a, I mean, it's a current, which is, I mean, you're not part of the majority, and you're
Yeah.
certain codes you can't read, or or where you feel like you are in a position where you question whether you fully belong. I mean,
Hmm.
that's a really basic feeling you have and
Yeah.
can never get rid of.
Mm.
Which means, I mean, and this is, and this brings some benefits. I mean, because I mean,
Yeah.
if you enter a room or meeting or something, you tend to read the room in a different way than other
Mm.
people would do, because you're more
Yeah.
sensitive and you're more looking for signs, and trying to understand, and how are people
Mm.
cool, or are people not so cool, or
Yeah.
if you go out on the street, or if you go using public transport, or you are more observant
Mm. Mm.
surrounding around you, and just looking for signs which gives you either comfort or make you being a bit on the watch, or being alerted to it.
Mm.
And that's
Mm.
something you can never get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. But on the other hand, it's not as if I'm not suffering
Yeah.
from anything
Mm. Mm.
in that way. So I can, pretty much, live the life I want to live. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for, and
Mm.
I think, and that's the position of privilege
Yeah.
I've been speaking of.
You mentioned very interesting uh, things in the previous message, conversation that we were having, is about the spaces and open spaces, and even some of the rooms where you enter and you have a different lens towards it. Do you still stumble upon some of the situations where it's awkward to you still end up having awkward conversations about partners, about in general, and someone still assume things? Or do you think people have started to be less assumptuous about people?
I mean, sometimes, I mean, it's, if I'm in a environment where, in a new environment, or where I don't know people, I mean, it's a bit of up to myself. I mean, how much I want to test it, and test
Mm.
it out. And
Yeah.
if in doubt, I mean, I would rather, just not seeking any, you know,
Mm.
controversy, but rather like being a bit more guarded and
Yeah.
all that stuff. I mean, I'm just wondering, when the last situation was where I felt a bit uncomfortable or, even threatened.
Yeah.
But that, yeah, I mean, that's maybe more in a, if you're really out there in public transport or, where you have where you sense, I mean, there's certain groups, if they're a group of, I don't know, guys who seem to be up to no good, then you're
Yeah.
like, maybe let's get out here rather sooner than later. But the thing is, I mean, maybe subconsciously, I'm really, trying to navigate or, just go to places where I feel safe. So
Mm.
I'm not that adventurous. Don't want to go out looking
Yeah.
for a fight.
I think, it's a very interesting topic that we are picking on in general. Passing as a straight person, because again, we are in a position of privilege because we can act in a certain way and we don't have those clear markers, right? Like a lot of trans folks and a lot of other folks. Do you think that sense of security is still missing in corporate environment?
I mean, the problem is, I mean, I can only speak about the places I've worked at. So
Yeah.
I'm now with a company which is, um, it gives a safe space.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even before that, worked for a big, cultural institution, which is run by the federal government. And that was, but that's a long time ago. I think, and yeah, of course, I mean, there were people from the community working there, because
Yeah.
it's a cultural institution. So it,
Yeah.
it was safe. But then I worked in a small agency and, which was, where when I started, I was the only guy. Was
Yeah.
only women only. So it was a, really open,
Easy. Yeah.
easy atmosphere. So I really
Yeah.
can't tell about, big corporations, how it is
Mm.
nowadays. But even if I, speak to friends and peers, I don't think in Germany, at least, I mean, that it's most companies, provide that safe space.
Mm. Mm.
So I think there's been a lot of progress over the years. And
Yeah.
if we are now in a time when, people start getting crazy ideas and think they can, just travel back in time, which is kind of peculiar, frightening, everything
Yeah.
at once. But
Yeah.
I don't think that we will go back in time when it comes to that.
Mm.
Might be that people are a bit more cautious, or it's like and maybe there was a bit of too much at once,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I mean that's one thing, I noticed in an agency where there was a non-binary person joining,
Mm.
and they really were talking a lot and, bringing a lot of the topics, into an environment which was good, with be there with goodwill, but
Mhm. Mm.
it overwhelmed,
Mm. Mm.
because that's something. Speaking of empathy and sensitivity, and you need to read the room and really acknowledge the fact that not everyone has been educated in these respects, and it might be for many a lot to digest.
Mm.
So, and, giving people the chance to do that, giving people the time and not just go in there, like full steam and saying, well, and this is this and just, and, all these kind of things, how you talk and, words you use and you don't use, give people time to understand that, and,
Mm.
because then otherwise it backfires because people then are really feeling like, okay, my God, I mean, this is too much. So I rather not get involved, or rather, start building a crutch
Mm.
against people who are outside the norm.
Yeah. Yeah. There is, something that you mentioned really stuck with me was that, you know, even though people were trying to have a good intention, it was still making the person uncomfortable. Do you think minorities, in terms of any minority, like uh do they still get burdened by the idea of pandering the straight folks ego? The burden is still on them to make them feel comfortable. At least I have felt personally that there are still times when I try to not make myself super comfortable with someone new, right? Because I don't want them to come across as like, oh, I'm hitting on them, or something of that sort. So making them feel comfortable with that idea, or even, say for example, we are having a night out, still ensuring that, okay, like I have a separate room, because I
Mhm.
don't want to I don't want to make anyone else feel uncomfortable, instead
Mhm.
of thinking about ourselves. Do you still come across as those situations, or do
Yeah,
you
I mean,
think?
I think it has to do with respect.
Mm,
So it's really, being respectful and mindful of others and empathy.
yeah,
It's ensuring this empathy.
yeah,
So it's not as I mean, it's really, I mean, giving people a chance to understand you
mm,
is something I would do no matter, what minority group I'm talking about. Or that's for me, it's a basic thing, between
yeah,
human beings who get to know each other, so
mm,
be respectful and giving each one the chance to, understand and not just, not overwhelming them or, just making assumptions and, just being a bit too, too fast. So it's,
yeah,
I mean, a lot of the whole discussion about, diversity, inclusion, equity, I mean, has to do with very basic human, I mean, how you envision human actions
mm,
to be. It has a lot to do with respect. It has a lot to
mm,
do with, I mean, being ethical,
yeah,
just doing not doing anything to someone who you don't want them to do to you, and all that kind of, basic, fundamental.
mm,
And when it comes to LGBTQ plus topics,
yeah,
I mean, this all has to be about love and sexual attraction.
mm,
Love is love.
yeah,
It's a thing, a consensual thing between two human beings,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
can have all kind of varieties.
yeah,
So it's just, even I think I have somewhere this book from a American historian.
mm,
Even the term homosexuality was invented in the
mm,
late 19th century.
mm,
Of course, there were homosexual actions ever since
yeah,
in history, but people didn't even bother to give it a name because it was just like,
mm,
why do we? And then, in the 19th century, there was this academic, like, okay, we need to build compartments, build boxes, and, put people in the boxes.
mm, mm,
So ideally, I mean, we should go away from that,
yeah,
even thinking of, gender roles and, fluidity. There's always been a fluidity.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
sometimes, the wish to make everything, black and white,
yeah,
has led to a lot of suffering for many people. And
mm.
that's
One from India and one from Germany, right? So there are a lot of things which we have in common, but I'm sure there are a lot of things, a lot of experiences that you've probably heard from me, which are unique, either to the region or to the times or in general. What are some of the ways that I've surprised you or made you rethink of your old beliefs? Was there a sense of reciprocity?
I know what you
Yeah.
mean. Wouldn't be able to pronounce this myself.
Yeah. Of a relationship that shaped you, not just as a leader, but also as a person or as a member of the community.
Yeah, I think, what I feel always inspired is the level of curiosity and openness you bring to any conversation. And
Hmm.
really, asking questions I would never have come up with myself. And I think also that makes you a really excellent designer because you are no because I think you're really you're really looking at things and you're trying to look at things in different ways and and just asking asking questions, and even, and clear questions, and
Mm.
where you, as the one being asked, you think like, okay, wow, yeah, I've never asked myself that question. So that's,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that gives me a sense of, inspiration of, just, questioning more things and not, just taking too many things for granted, but rather, think of, I mean, maybe there's a different angle to it. And
Mm.
so that's something, I always enjoy. Plus, just, feeling and, your energy. I mean, that gives me energy, so that's
Yeah.
also something, I mean, even if I had a not so nice day, after conversation with you, I normally feel better, and
Wow.
that's the same. I mean, I have a, I have another close colleague in my team. That's
Yeah.
the same if I talk to her, it's really like, I mean, there are people who bring you energy and there are people
Yeah.
who drain energy and
Yeah.
you're, brings energy and the other colleague does so, as well. So and that's cool. So thank you.
Thank you so much for saying those words. I mean, I want to kind of, reflect on your coming out journey at Workspo. How was the experience, and was there an unexpected response from your colleague that still lingers with you, like emotionally?
It was unspectacular, I think, because I mean, I mean, casual as possible. It just at one point, I just said, well, I'm going away with my on holiday with my boyfriend.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was totally fine. So,
Mm,
I mean, there was no, backlash. I mean, when we founded the ESA plus the employee resource group, I mean, we had a, video recording and, I was in that video as well. And I mean, and there were, colleagues who were really surprised because wouldn't have read me as a gay person, you know?
mm, mm.
And it's, I don't know, maybe, some female colleagues, I mean, they were a bit disappointed for reasons. That
You're
was
such.
That was interesting. Oh, okay. Hmm. Okay, I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, no. I mean, it was overall, it was really
Mm,
positive experience. I mean, it was the same with my family and friends. I mean, it's really like, yeah, it was. Again, I was, lucky in that respect.
yeah. Yeah. Isn't that sometimes annoying that, especially when it comes to friends, that they don't have any reaction to it? Because when I came out to them, they were like, "Okay, fine,"
Mm.
and I was like, I was expecting some sort of a drama. I was like, something like at least just act like you're surprised.
They be careful what you wish for. There's always enough drama in our lives.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't feel disappointed about that. We are not living in a sitcom.
Yeah, sadly. Can you describe a moment where representation visibly changed the energy or a sense of belonging for a team member? Did you find a time when someone brought their authentic self to work and it changed the entire team and the energy of the entire team?
It all, yeah. I mean, I can't think of a single anecdote, but I think generally, whenever there's a team where people feel comfortable and and they can really just uh, have the feeling they can say what they think and and be themselves and so that always makes the conversations better conversations, and it's always a more fruitful thing to do. During COVID, I mean, it was interesting because I mean we started as a team to have these weekly calls,
Mm,
and I think people were really starting to sharing more personal feelings on how they deal with the situation, with that pandemic, and just being forced to work from home, etc. And that helped a lot in becoming a better team, because
mm,
people were feeling more comfortable and sharing it. Of course, I mean, you can, put on your corporate face and you can just, pretend everything is amazing all the time,
yeah.
but that doesn't help anyone. So, I mean, we all know how to do that. And
Mm,
situations when I mean, it's nobody is interested in how you really feel. So you just
yeah.
all the world stage, and men and women merely play it.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
give you
Yeah.
Shakespeare. But yeah, I mean, we can do that, but it's not really the way it should be, because I mean, it's more important to, or it's more fulfilling, if you have a work environment where you can really, just share and be yourself. That,
Mm.
that's a deep belief I have, and which is also a deep belief in our company. So.
Mm. If not from personal account, do you have you had conversations where people still wrestle when it comes to navigating the corporate queerness? Are there some discussions about some wounds or moments, that still bothers you, considering the time we're living in?
Mm.
Of course, like the reality of West versus what we have here is completely different. But overall, like have there been, especially in terms of Western society, certain incidences that you've heard of which still surprise you or give you like
What
a
still
shocker?
puzzles me or surprises me is, that people say, well, why are you making such a fuss? Because everything is so normal and it's all accepted. And, I mean, why should we have ERGs focusing on that topic? Why do we do, why is there a Pride Month? Why are you, need to demonstrate, etc. So that's something,
Mm,
and again, I mean, it comes, sometimes from people who are not homophobic or in any way, but they don't want to be bothered, and
mm,
by these topics.
yeah.
No, it's still important,
Mm,
to have Pride months. It's still important because it's nothing which we can take for granted, as we can now see, when they start painting, overpainting rainbow crossings in US, where I was really like, I mean, are they nuts? So
yeah.
it's still, I mean, if someone is homophobic, I mean, that person, I mean, has a different, that's a different problem. But I mean, even
Yeah.
the people who are not, understanding how important it is to have this representation and to show.
Yeah.
So that's what troubles me a bit more. But
Mm,
that's the responsibility we all have from the community. I mean, to find the spaces or find the opportunities to make it clear. And I mean, we just did it in our office recently, and it was interesting. I mean, because many people came afterwards and said, well, we didn't know that.
yeah.
There's,
Yeah.
goodwill, but
Mm-hmm,
of
mm-hmm.
understanding or lack of knowledge. So, and that's something, we can help them with.
When you mentioned about the fact that why do some people still feel that why do we need to celebrate pride, or why do we need to still have ERGs, something striked to me in general, and I don't know whether you echo the same feeling or not, but is the fear of all the development that has happened rolling back from one Supreme Court case or from one I don't want to get into specifics, but or one policy change, is that fear still happen? Because I think what you mentioned is that I'm sure a lot of people don't realize it, that we're still at the mercy of the majority, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So, as a queer person, does that fear still lingers?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's
Mm,
absolutely, it's there everywhere in the community everywhere. So
yeah.
it's still there, and it's yeah, gives you sometimes you really, yeah, sometimes you're really down when read
Yeah.
news and stuff. But on the other hand, I mean, you shouldn't use that as as an encouragement to do something against it. So
Mm,
not rolling back.
Thank you so much for taking out time. This was really nice.
Adi, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.